Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Hunt Museum. And on behalf of Limerick Writers Centre and Revival Press, I'm delighted to welcome you here on this quite windy and wet day, so we thank you for coming. We're here to launch a lovely and beautiful slim volume of poems called Shadow Horses by Dr. Bridget Wallace. Despite her being published in many other places, this is her first volume of poetry to be published. Dominic Taylor, Director of Limerick Writers Centre, I'm going to use the adjective, the indefatigable Dominic Taylor, is going to speak first, and then the book will be formally launched by Martina Breen, who's sitting here at the front, and finally we'll have the pleasure of Dr. Bridget Wallace herself speaking and writing her poetry. So we'll start. Could I just mention, it wouldn't be the end of the world if the phone went off, but it's probably better if you turn it off. So we're going to start with the Director of Dominic Taylor. Would you welcome Dominic Taylor?
Thanks a million, Donald, and thanks again to all of you for coming out this afternoon to celebrate the publication of Bridget's book, Shadow Horses. Bridget, like other revival poets, follows in a great tradition of contemporary Limerick poetry, which began, I suppose, to some extent anyway, with our own Desmond O'Grady back in the 1950s when he was a member of the Castle Poets and that. And it continues on today through the work of the Limerick Writers Centre and the White House Poets and other groups and individuals. As publishers of Shadow Horses, I just want to set out the role of the Limerick Writers Centre. What we try to do is bring ideas about books, literature and writing to as wide an audience as possible. And especially perhaps to people who do not feel comfortable in traditional arts, literature, venues or settings. Pablo Neruda, the Nobel Prize-winning poet, said a number of years ago that poetry is like bread. It should be shared by all, by the vast, incredible, extraordinary family of humanity. Now that, in a small way, is what we try to do.
Bridget Wallace, before we started, I said to her, Bridget's got a PhD, and I said, do you want to call you Dr. Bridget Wallace, or just, she said, oh, just Bridget Wallace. But you know what, if you've got a PhD in literature, you deserve to be called Doctor. So Dr. Bridget Wallace is a native of Limerick City. She started writing poetry in the late 1990s and has published individual poems in a variety of magazines. Her short collection of poetry was featured in the anthology Sextet by Revival Press in 2010. Those who go to the White House or to On the Nail at the Loch Bar will have heard Bridget in her poetry sessions there. She's also read at the Cushla Poetry Festival and at Over the Edge in Galway. In 2012 she was a guest poet at Crawley Wordfest. And in 2015, Bridget won the Viva Voce poetry competition at Aicsa Michael Hartnett in Newcastle West. As I said, she's a PhD in English literature and has taught English literature for USCO, the Irish Open University, based in DCU. She also teaches creative writing at Limerick Writers Centre and many other things. She's adjudicated several poetry competitions and currently facilitates creative writing and art programs for adults with intellectual disability. Delighted to ask Martina Breen to officially launch Bridget's book.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Hunt Museum. I am very honoured to have been asked by Bridget to launch this beautiful collection of poetry, Shadow Horses. There is an awful lot between the covers of this book, and it's always a problem when you're sitting down to introduce a collection for somebody to try and decide, well, what will I leave out, because there is so much you could say. It would be very, very easy to give a lecture for an hour on the work of Dr. Wallace. And I'm glad that Donald did the intro there because I think that these things about Bridget are very important, because what they do is they show the depth of her commitment to her craft and her devotion to disseminating it all at all levels in society, and this demonstrates a commitment to learning and sharing these skills, reaching out to all minds in a thought-provoking juxtaposition of words and ideas. In her role as poet, her mastery of language inspires us to experience something which is transcendent, uplifting, insightful, useful, and meaningful for all of our lives. This beautiful collection, Shadow Horses, exudes all of these inspirational modes in beautifully crafted and at times very stark language. I must also commend highly the excellence of the publication by Revival Press and the stunning cover design, which was the image for which was painted by Bridget herself. So you look at the art, you look at the poetry, the standard of both, it speaks for itself. But I would also like to congratulate Lot Bender on the excellence with which she has put this book together, and it really is a wonderful production. Also, the title is the title of the poem Shadow Horses, and it exposes us to such creative lines as clouds form a fibula of fingers that clasp the mantle of the mountain on its mist-sodden hem. What beautiful sounds and what beautiful imagery. It's set in Connemara, and it's where those who are unlucky in love chase the shadow horses. A really, really beautiful poem. The themes in Bridget Wallace's poetry are relevant to everyone. They cover a wide range of subjects, differing contexts, and a variety of locations. For example, for her PhD, Dr. Wallace focused on the poetry of resistance of Palestinian poets like Mahmoud Darwish, Hanan Ashrawi, and also included Israeli Jewish poet Dan Al-Magor and many others. During a visit to Palestine in 2007, she interacted with the Israeli Jewish and Palestinian writers and intellectuals, where she acquired her deep understanding and her abiding passion for the plight of the Palestinian people. The sensitive treatment of the impact of so-called administrative detention in the poem Aladdin's Lamp in Ophir Prison, its destructive impact on people's lives, the themes of separation, both physical and mental torment, and yet, in spite of all of this, there is a firm belief expressed in the poem that in the face of all of this adversity and suffering, that God sees the truth, but sometimes waits. Now, I will finish by mentioning Rilke's Bats. Wonderfully creative poem, full of imagery, and it's got a sting in the tail, so I'm going to let you buy the book to find out what that is. I'd like to finish this introduction by paraphrasing Yeats and saying that Bridget Wallace has in this collection spread the heavens embroidered cloths under our feet, and her dreams also. So, tread softly and enjoy Bridget's dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin, for that wonderful introduction. And now a different title. We asked the poet, Bridget Wallace, to come and speak.
And I'm afraid my readings won't be remotely as good as Martine. In fact, maybe I should hand the whole book over to Martine. I'll just start very briefly by thanking everyone who came today, my fellow poets, eminent poets such as Kieran O'Driscoll, Terry Murray, Fred Johnson, and amongst others, Sheila. Thank you all for coming. My family, Aileen is here, and she did quite a bit of work, I must say. She put in great effort today. So there's a poem dedicated to her, so I'll read that. And my other family, the Wallace family, who I also consider as practically my sisters. Thank you all for coming as well, and my friends, and whoever is here. Friends and enemies alike. You're all welcome. So I'm not going to go into speeches, or I won't talk too much about the poems. Maybe I'll just go ahead and start. But not without thanking Donal, and thanking Marion for taking the role at the table, and Dominic, thank you as well, and Limerick Writers Centre for making it possible. So I'll start with the title poem, and again I said I just wish Martine was reading them. Okay, so just bear with me. Okay, Shadow Horses. Glasses would be very handy. To the west of Carna, clouds form a fibula of fingers that clasp the mantle of the mountain. On its mist-sodden hem, the Connemara ponies prance, spectral in the watercolour rain, the softening rain, rolling in from the distance. Thunder rolls above the strand we walked across. Seagulls torment the air with a violent melody, and the wind is a corner boy whistling a lecherous tune. Soon the bay will fill with galloping white horses, and churned by their hoofs, the brown blades of kelp will tremble like the tangled limbs of lovers. In this landscape of imagining, white rocks cling to the brown earth like salt flecks on a sailor's whiskers, or speckles of foam on the sailor's lips that ooze like purple damsons crushed in the mouth of October. In this landscape we do not grow closer. My mouth cannot fathom the meaning of your kiss, and your soul escapes me. Flesh draws the evening in, and spirit is lost in the silence of a carnal landscape, the place where unlucky lovers chase the shadow horses. Just bear with me. And this one is for Aileen. Aileen lived for a time in Tralee, and I used to love to go down there, and we'd explore the mountains and so on together. So this is for Aileen when she inspired for the time that we spent in Tralee. Elemental. In the dream time of a fading light, she stokes the sacred fire, solace of the oncoming winter. While outside, the elements murmur, and the aroma of turf falls to the black rain-sodden earth. Her hands are drowsing in the warm glow. A sudden tail flick swats a firefly that rises from the crackling earth. An ear twitches once, and once again when the wind kicks an empty can against the rusted farmhouse gate. And dreaming of the nearby fields, the other nips the hoofs of errant sheep, or snatches at silvery raindrops drumming on an old tin roof. Like Artemis, she homes and strings a new cut bow, awaits the return of spring, when she and her companions will once again chase the elusive hare through the streams and undergrowth of Scotia's glen. Again, just to get back to World War I, and another uncle of mine, my great uncle on my mother's side, my great uncle Charles Smith, killed in action in World War I. Unfortunately, we don't know where or how. We know he was killed by a sniper, but apparently he entered the Irish Guards under an assumed name. So we don't know actually where he's buried. I do have a clue in that there was one particular person killed by a sniper who was in the Irish Guards and who lived not 100 miles from where my uncle lived. So we have a feeling that might be him. Something happened, I think the story was an eviction in County Clare. He was only a youth of 14 or something, but he was an RIC man who was shot. So he had to go, when he wanted to join up, then he had to go and assume name. So this is called a postcard from the front, and I actually do have a little postcard that he sent to my grandmother from the front before he died. A postcard from the front. Dearest Bridget, I tremble in the cold incendiary light that floods this muddy trench with a false dawn. Wide awake, I dream of summer days when you made picnics on the Shannon's bank, and I at Classy hunted otters where the Emperor's harriers chased them at the dark water's edge. Dawn in the trench brings the dreaded timpani that can make a man a ghost. Each note a deafening pledge to haunt the history books, and history rots like flesh in the mire, where each morning hope dies and sorrow is reborn from the dark amniotic pools of human filth. Sister, I will return to those green banks, but I will not speak except in signs to make my presence felt. So watch for the red poppies that disturb the earth, and the yellow iris thrusting skyward like a bayonet. When I walk beside you, they will nod to me as though I were not dead. But I cannot say all this on my little postcard from the front. So you must read between the lines of official text. Quote, I am quite well. I have been admitted to hospital, sick, stroke, wounded, and I'm going well. I am being sent down to base. I have received your letter, stroke, telegram, stroke, parcel. Letter follows at first opportunity. I have received no letter from you lately, stroke, for a long time. Signature only, unquote. Dearest Bridget, remember me and light a candle to the Holy Mother. Charlie, your fond and loving brother.
Bridget has nothing to apologise about her reading either. That was wonderful. Thank you. I just asked her for the week that's in it, if I could just read one poem. The introduction on the page, the quote is by Umberto Eco, who we lost this week. It's called River Elegy. The quote from Umberto Eco says, sit on the banks of the river and wait for the corpse of your enemy to come by. In the meantime, you have to think of something. Read Plato or write books. Umberto Eco. So the poem, and particularly what we face, we have a decision to make, all of us who are going to vote. The banks are steeper now, and the river's muddy buttocks exposed to the scalding wind. The reeds are lank, and no dragonfly or yellow iris shatters the monotony. A shopping trolley pokes through a hole in the hull of a rotten boat that once carried the laughter of summer picnics across the silence of the lake. I sit on the bank and wait, but my enemy's corpse is trapped in an oxbow, cut off from its funereal watercourse in a silted bend of the river that once was a stately meander. As the waters recede, lighter detritus can be seen, plastic bottles bobbing on the surface, carrying corporate covenants, messages of austerity, and covert fiscal policies. My enemy's corpse consigned to memory, I write lean poetry to plumb the muddy depths of the nation's shadows, and to tell the powers that be to seal the seepage, desalinate the sea, before corporate thirst leaves nothing left to swallow. Thank you all for coming. The books are on sale. I'm sure Bridget will be delighted to sign them for you. Just one event to mention. Many of you have been there, many of you know. The Lock Bar, upstairs in the Lock Bar, on every first Tuesday of the month, we have On the Nail. And Dicey Kieran O'Driscoll is here. The two guest readers this month on the 1st of March are Kieran O'Driscoll and Sean Lycett. And of course, it was a wonderful open mic session, which is consistently high standard. You're most welcome to join us there, and it's free. Thank you all for coming.
Looking back when times were tough, I was alone. I could never seem to get enough to keep me going. I spend my days just running through the lanes. I couldn't stop running 'cause I was running away from the rain, from the rain. Limerick City in the rain. I remember my Uncle Pa. He was my friend. He taught me how to drink the pint, 3 sheets in the wind. Other nights we laughed and drank till the break of dawn. As the Shannon echoed the birth of a brand new morn. And the rain, and the rain, Limerick City and the rain. Now the memories come to mind, they make me sad. Since I left that life behind, it wasn't that bad. Well, I told my story, some say that my story ain't true. Well, take a look in the mirror and you'll see I'm talking about you. And the rain, and the rain, Limerick City and the rain. Rain keeps falling down on this old Limerick town. That's why I wear a frown, that's what they say. Please God, the sun will shine when I leave this place behind. 'Cause soon I will be flying into the arms of the USA, of the USA.